Venom 2017. Hey guys, welcome back to our channel, Mystery Recap. In today's video, we're going to recap a 2017 movie named Venom, so stick with us till the end. At the beginning of the movie, a space shuttle from the Life Foundation catches up to fire and crashes in East Malaysia, delivering 4 samples of symbiotes named Mayhem, Scream, Riot, and Venom. After the Life Foundation tells the police about their space shuttle, medics come to the scene and get astronaut J.J. Jameson III, who is the only person still alive. When Jameson is put in an ambulance, something that has been attached to him comes to life and attacks everyone inside, causing the car to flip and crash. An EMT crawls out of the wreckage. She is now infected with a symbiote, an alien parasite, and begins to move toward the Life Foundation, which is the group that launched the space shuttle. In the next scene, we meet reporter Eddie Brock in San Francisco. He lives with his fiancée, lawyer Anne Weiing, who is about to present the Life Foundation and its CEO, Carlton Drake. Eddie Brock is well known for his investigative reporting on various topics that he discusses on his television news show, The Eddie Brock Report. Because he approaches issues in a manner that is distinct from that of others, he has earned the respect of his fellow employees. Eddie's boss sends him to talk to Drake as soon as he gets to work. He instructs Eddie not to inquire about Drake's job or anything else that is not directly related, and he tells Eddie to report back with positive information. The same question is posed by Anne, who is aware that Eddie has a short fuse and that this is one of the reasons he was forced to leave New York. After a long time of sleep, Eddie finally gets up to get a glass of water. When he checks Anne's computer, he discovers an email that contains information about 3 deaths that have been confirmed because of the shuttle crash. In addition to this, he discovers that the Life Foundation has been conducting potentially lethal experiments for the past few years, and that if this practice is allowed to continue, a great number of innocent people could perish as a result. He makes a note of the pertinent information and decides to inquire about it further with Drake during their interview. Eddie defies orders and has a conversation with Drake about his program to travel through space. After that, he begins questioning Drake about the deaths and the ways in which he is responsible for them. After Drake loses his temper during the conversation, Eddie is asked to exit the room. After that, Eddie tells his boss about it, and his boss, who is terrified of Drake, fires Eddie because of what Eddie said. Anne loses her job as the direct result of Eddie's carelessness, which ultimately results in the breakup of Eddie and Anne's relationship. After returning to Malaysia, the EMT finds himself in a local market where he promptly begins to consume an eel. When the vendor confronts her about it, she draws a sword from the symbiote that has been wrapped around her arm and slits his throat with it. People try to exact revenge on her by attacking her, but the symbiote wipes out everyone in the vicinity by shooting out quills, killing everyone. When an emergency medical technician approaches an older woman, the symbiote will attack and kill the EMT before attaching itself to the elderly woman. After a period of 6 months, as part of his ongoing research on symbiotes, Drake is putting homeless people through a battery of tests. He pretends to have a conversation with a single individual named Isaac to give the impression that he is about to embark on a very significant mission for the benefit of other people. Drake sends the symbiote into Isaac's room and lets it take control of Isaac's body. Staff at the Foundation are seeing all of this, including Dr. Doris Kurth, who seems to be scared by the act. Isaac seems fine for a while, but then he starts shaking, and the symbiote leaves his dead body after eating his organs. Eddie, on the other hand, has lost his job and is now living alone in a small, dirty apartment in San Francisco. He goes to a local store where he meets the clerk, Mrs. Chen. Eddie sees that a thug is always stealing Mrs. Chen's money, but he can't do anything about it because the thief is armed. Eddie is approached by Dr. Doris Kurth, a Life Foundation scientist who is upset by Drake's experiments on people. She begs Eddie to help her find Drake, but he says no because he no longer cares about what happens to people. Later, Eddie rushes to Anne's apartment to see her, but she's just back from a date with her new boyfriend, Dr. Dan Lewis. Eddie tells Anne that he misses her and blames Drake for what happened to him when they are alone. Anne tells him that he is the one who has hit rock bottom and asks Drake some very interesting questions. Eddie then asks Skirt to come along with her on her mission. Skirt sneaks Eddie into the Life Foundation's main office and brings him there. Eddie takes pictures of how the symbiote's victim look after they have been killed. Eddie is friends with a homeless woman named Maria, who is one of the people he knows who is still alive. He tries to get her out of her prison, but Maria attacks him. Then the symbiote in her body grabs Eddie, making him run away. Eddie is being chased by security officers, but he seems to be stronger and more agile now, which lets him run very fast. Drake and his team know that there is a symbiote specimen on the loose when they find Maria's body. Drake finds out in the end that Eddie was brought to the Foundation without his knowledge by Skirth. Drake gets Skirt to say that Eddie was involved, and then he puts her in a cell where she is killed by another symbiote. Drake then sends a group of hired guns led by Roland Trees to find Eddie. At home, Eddie begins to get strange symptoms. He wants to eat strange things like frozen tater tots and rotten meat. He also has a fever and starts to throw up. A low, angry voice also starts to talk to him. He comes across Ann and Dan on a date where he acts strangely by eating other people's food and then sitting in a lobster tank and eating real lobsters. Ann and Dan think they need to help Eddie. Later, Dan gives Eddie an MRI, but the frequency of the tests makes Eddie's head look terrible. So Dan stops the tests and tells Eddie to get back home safely. Eddie is in pain again in his apartment because his neighbor plays his music too loud. Eddie goes over to tell him to turn down the music, but he is laughed at until the symbiote changes Eddie's face into something horrifying. Then the neighbor agrees. While this is going on, Trees and his goons break into Eddie's house to catch him. Eddie tries to quit, but the symbiote won't let him. As Trees and his men attack, Eddie is forced to fight the goons with the help of the symbiote. Trees records this to show Drake how well Eddie and the symbiote work together. Drake is amazed by Eddie and the symbiote. Eddie leaves his apartment as more of Trees' men shows up. Then Eddie's followed through the city as he looks for a motorcycle to ride, until Trees runs into Eddie with his car. The symbiote helps Eddie fight off the bad guys and get around the streets with ease. As he gets closer to Eddie, the symbiote takes over his whole body and turns him into Venom. Before Venom can kill Trees, he is shot by another goon. Venom leaves Trees, but before he can get away, he bites off the goon's head. Eddie ends up near a lighthouse where he heals his broken bones through some kind of magic. He felt bad when he saw a man's head being eaten off by the symbiote, which calls itself Venom, talks to him and tells him he is a great host. Eddie is told that if he wants to live, all he has to do is follow orders and help Venom get back to where he belongs, which is space. Eddie tries to meet his boss at night to give him the evidence from the Life Foundation lab, but the guards stop him. Eddie needs Venom's help to get to the top of the building where he used to work so he can show Drake's crimes to his old boss. When a jet flies over, the symbiote's frequency gets messed up. Eddie almost falls off the roof, but Venom catches him just in time. Eddie tries to run away after he leaves Proof, but the mercs are still after him. Venom fights them off before running away. Eddie and Ann meet when Ann walks by Eddie's apartment and sees that it's a crime scene. She takes Eddie to Dan's office to get more help. Eddie is having trouble and she is aware of it. Eddie is told by Venom to talk to Ann because Venom has grown fond of her. Eddie tries to say sorry for what he did wrong, but Ann tells him it's not the right time. Later, Dan gives Eddie a second test and finds out that the symbiote is a parasite, which is a word that Venom doesn't like to hear. After Dan tells Eddie that he and the symbiote are pretty much killing each other, Ann turns on a high frequency that makes the symbiote leave Eddie's body. Eddie is very happy and light now that the parasite is gone. After Eddie leaves, Venom gets out of the room through the vents and grabs a small puppy. Trees and his men finally catch Eddie and take him to Drake. So guys, that's it for today. If you liked the video, then give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button for more movie recaps. Also, comment your favorite movie name that you'd like to get an explanation on. Thanks for watching.